Okay, so my name is Alex Santana, full name Alejandro Jimenez Santana. I'm an assistant professor of practice at the Rutgers Newark School of Criminal Justice and the co-executive director of the Newark Public Safety Collaborative, together with my co-executive director, Joel Kaplan. To get started, what is the NPSC? For those of you who don't know, NPSC is an intermediary organization that was, or initiative, part of the of Rutgers, the Rutgers School of Criminal Justice and the Chancellor's Office Anchor Initiative Program for Safer Communities. It was established in 2018, and it is housed at the School of Criminal Justice and convened by SCJ faculty. The NPSC was created, and I want to give a second first to acknowledge the role of the Chancellor's Office and the vision of Nancy Cantor in establishing this initiative, because first and foremost, it is an initiative that seeks to bridge the gap between the university and the community of Newark, and it seeks to establish Rutgers as not just to be as a university that is in Newark, but is of Newark, and that brings back or gives back to the community. And NPSC really plays a pivotal role in this mission of in the Anchor Initiative framework established by Rutgers University, which I'm going to say Rutgers Newark, which I'm going to say is unique in the country and does play a very strong role in this work. NPSC, like I said, was created in 2018, and the three prongs or the three main objectives of this program are as follows. First is we convene meetings with a number of community organizations, mostly community-based organizations, but also law enforcement, local government, and other community stakeholders. And the first thing that we realized when we started organizing these meetings is that, yes, the police, law enforcement have access to data, but that is not the case for most organizations in the city of Newark and elsewhere. That's why our first effort was to democratize the use of data and analytics. Let's make this data accessible, and let's make sure that all stakeholders have access to the same at the same level to this type of information. Why? Because these data helps community organizations to make data-informed decisions that can better help them allocate resources, particularly community programming in areas that have systematic problems or that had a history of concentration of crime or other crime problems. Once the data is shared and with the groups, the second point is the mobilization of community resources. Community resources in this case stands for the use of community programs, which are already in existence, but sometimes are not implemented in areas that could benefit more from this type of programming. And the reason we believe in the mobilization of community resources is, and I'm going to give an example. Sometimes we think about the arts, we think about murals, we think about crime prevention through environmental design type of strategies. These programs can be more effective when implemented in areas of the city where these programs are needed most. And here, I think it's important to note that crime and crime problems are not distributed evenly across the city, not in Newark, not in other cities or elsewhere. Crime is very concentrated in very specific locations. By understanding both the concentration of crime and also how community programming can be extremely powerful at dealing with some of these crime problems through non-law enforcement mechanisms. And we just heard from words of the lead of the Dr. Chowdhury from the Patterson Collective, Healing Collective, how important it is community-based interventions in this type of work. So we do believe in this at the NPSC, and from our intermediary position, again, we are not a CVI, we are not a community violence interrupter, we are an intermediary that intends to create capacity and help community-based organizations and CVIs in implementing their work in ways that can help them be both more effective, but also be able to improve the efficiency of these programs. And the third, I think, most important is the empowerment of community organizations as co-producers of community safety. And there's two things that I want to highlight: is both leveling the playing field when it comes to community safety and public safety. The police cannot be at the center of public safety efforts. The community and the police should be both at the same level when it comes to these types of conversations. And most importantly, the co-production of community safety, which is finally a terminology that is becoming more used in the field, talks about a change in previous practices of so-called community policing, which tended to be more police-centric and not really community-inclusive. We believe that the community can play a role, just like the police, in co-production efforts by helping produce safety based on their own ability to be part of these efforts. And in the end, I think it's also important to talk about the ecosystem and the Newark ecosystem. And here, I think this slide helps to understand this the ecosystem, the existing ecosystem in Newark. Here's the NPSC membership to date. You have both law enforcement as well as state and local government agencies, both at the city, county, and state level. You have, of course, Rutgers, businesses like Prudential, PSE&G, and RBH, and philanthropic organizations that are very strong and have helped a lot to push these programs in Newark, like Prudential and Victoria. But I want you to focus on the bottom part, and those are the community-based organizations that really constitute about 55 to 60% of our membership. And these organizations are extremely important in terms of their role as, in the end, service providers and frontliners in the co-production of safety in Newark's public safety ecosystem. So this project is a 2-year project that we are doing thanks to the GVRC with a focus on gun violence. And I wanted to first share with you our approach. So like I said, the 3 prongs are democratizing access to data and mobilizing resources for co-production efforts. The way we support these efforts is through routinely running analysis, thanks to an MOU with the police department in Newark, which provides us with incident level crime data on a weekly basis. And then we run place-based analysis, such as restraint modeling analysis and hotspot analysis, that help us understand both the concentration and collocation of certain places with different types of crime problems. In Newark, for example, we've seen in terms of distribution of crime or types of crime that are gun-related, increases in the proportion of gun-related crimes in homicides and ag assaults. As you can see here in a more detailed view, of all homicides that occurred between April 2023 and April 2024, 89% of incidents were gun-related. For ag assaults, the number of firearm-related incidents is 31%, and robberies is close to 50%. So gun violence really plays a pivotal role in the context of violent crime. And you can see here the 3 main types of violent crime. Here we wanted to show you also the monthly evolution of gun violence by different crime types. And this is the type of data we share with the community as well. So right now you're seeing the type of data that we share bi-monthly with our community stakeholders. And in this slide, you can see the changes month by month, changes in gun violence. There was an outlier in May 2023, which we are not seeing, thankfully, this year. We are seeing actually reductions in homicides and other incidents of violent crime. So this outlier of May 2023 is not as far as we know for the data that we have for this month is not happening again this year. So in this slide, I'm going to talk, for example, of one of the programs, one of the ideas, one of the strategies that have been launched by NPSC, and is this particular corridor on MacArthur Highway and 3rd Avenue. This data was shared with NPSC, the NPSC bi-monthly stakeholders, both at the beginning of the year and at the end of last year. And some of the narratives that were exposed at the meeting talked about the problematic with these particular gas stations and in this corridor. One of the members of the NPSC mentioned, for example, that these gas stations sell more than gas, and that there's different types of transactions that are happening here that might be contributing to the problem. So this data was shared with the community partners. Narratives were established between the members of the NPSC, and strategies are beginning to emerge on what are some of the things that can be done, which I will explain in a second. Here's another example of one of the priority areas for gun violence, in this case near Westside High School. And what we've seen year to date, for example, in these areas, that between South Orange Avenue and South 11th Street, there's been only year to date 9 aggravated assaults, all of which were gun related, and 1 homicide that was also gun related. This information was also shared with our partners, and will be actually shared again tomorrow, to continue thinking about programs that can be implemented to deal with this, with the problem of violence, of gun violence near this particular school. Some of the strategies that have been brought to the NPSC table have been accepted strategies, in this case, of crime prevention through environmental design. That includes beautification of vacant lots. It includes improvements in lighting conditions. It also includes programming that is targeted to both to youth using these spaces, for example, the bodega. And I will talk in a second about the bodega and the magnet effect of bodega. As you all know, bodegas are pivotal spaces in communities. They play a role because in spaces where no other businesses thrive, bodegas tend to be a last resort business, almost like the last standing business in certain underserved communities. And in these particular contexts, we run last year a program specific around bodegas that looked at ways to understand what are some of the conditions that are bringing crime near these particular spaces. And this was a collaboration between the Office of Violence Prevention, the Brick City Peace Collective at the City of Newark, PSNG, and the police department. So what we did here is I think is where you can see this co-production taking place by from a multi-stakeholder perspective. Law enforcement used code enforcement instead of arrest to understand whether some of these bodegas had standing issues. The utilities company helped improve lighting conditions in these spaces. Organizations like the Office of Violence Prevention did a community survey or community needs assessment to understand what were some of the problems near these bodegas. And this helped to, again, implement a co-production effort where different organizations, different stakeholders from the NPSC were finding different ways to deal with the problematic near certain bodegas. I want to make sure that is understood. We're not implying that the bodegas are the problem. We're saying that things are happening near these bodegas, and that by looking at these problems from a place-based perspective, we can help develop some tailored strategies that are community-based. In this case, I want to show a photo that shows 2 people that are very active at the NPSC and important key stakeholders of the NPSC. One is an NPSC staff, our program manager, Adriana Santos, and Warren Thompson, a community organizer at Lincoln Park. And here you have a group organized as part of a community walk that was organized to some of the areas near the Lincoln Park, in the Lincoln Park neighborhood, where violent crime concentrates. So some of the things that are done when these community walks are done is to do a few things. Is first, map available community resources. What community resources are available? How can we connect the underserved communities and also individuals who usually don't tap into this type of services, individuals who are non-service seeking? How can we connect this type of individuals with the services they need? But first, we need to also know what services are available and how to make these services available to them. Also engage residents, have conversations with residents about some of the problems, and get their feedback about what are the things that they would like to see done. Sometimes we've heard things like lighting is insufficient, or I've seen drug dealing or drug selling happening near this space. Is there anything that can be done to improve this space so that these conducts or these behaviors don't occur in these particular locations? And also important, talking to business owners to make them part of the co-production efforts. Business owners are seeing things and need to be also part of these conversations. In the end, again, how to expand these efforts. In terms of the gas stations that I mentioned before, MacArthur Highway, and this has led to the beginning of development of a production strategy with a group, a local nonprofit called La Casa de Don Pedro, which is partnering with NPSC in the North Ward of Newark to start looking at ways to deal with this problematic. Again, from not just with a strategy, but with multiple strategies that are consensuated in the end with the members of the collaborative. Some of the things that were discussed was engaging these business owners, engaging also some stakeholders and community organizations to be part of the solution, implementation of accepted strategies, again, which have proven to be effective. In the end, how can we change these environments to make them less attractive to this type of behaviors? And again, this is a 2-year project. So the things that I want to bring to the next meeting when we conclude this project dedicated to the development of strategies for gun violence are 3 things. First, share that we are expanding these co-production efforts in partnership with the City of Newark and My Brother's Keeper and Newark Opportunity Youth Network to expand these conversations to non-English speakers, which we believe have been left aside of these conversations oftentimes. Newark is a city that is attracting more immigrant population that don't necessarily speak English, but still should be part of these conversations. So we want to expand these efforts to make sure that this population gets access also to this type of framework, or these types of collaborations, and they're also part of the ecosystem. In other words, expand these co-production efforts to other groups that are right now not part of these efforts. And third, and which is also important, is evaluating the impact of these co-production efforts. How do we know? How do we track changes so that we are able to communicate to our partners and what changes have occurred in these environments, learn from what things that work, and also change those things that don't work. And that's the importance of evaluation. And with that, I conclude. I know that I'm running out of time.